We are Group 11, and the reading that we will be discussing is Soft Power and the Korean Wave. What is soft power and the Korean Wave?
Our group members include Cynthia Sabaratnam, Christine Zhao, Eden Asamoah, Janice Emmanuel, Maximilian Dao, and Reem Ali Salih.
Hello. We're Group 11, and we will be presenting the reading Soft Power and the Korean Wave. Throughout this presentation, we'll be discussing some of the key terms pulled from the reading, how the reading relates to past readings, external sources, cultural products that relate to the reading, and we'll look at 2 reflection questions that we came up with based on the readings. At the end of this presentation, Max will conclude everything and tie this all together. Hello, my name is Eden, and I'm going to be talking to you about some of the key terms that were found in the reading. The first term that we're going to look at is hard power. This is not the focus of the reading, but it is referenced. And that is the use of a country's military power to persuade other countries to do something rather than the use of cultural or economic influence. The second term, which is the main term that we will focus on, is soft power, and that is the use of a country's culture and economic influence to persuade other countries to do something, rather than the use of military power. Other terms that you may be familiar with is the Korean Wave, and so this is in reference to the rapid growth of South Korea's culture being exported out to the world through music, food, television, art. Just to name a few, South Korea was able to increase their global presence. The next term that we will look at is globalization. And what is that? That is the process by which countries, business, or other organizations develop international influence or start to operate on an international scale. And then the last term that we will look at is regionalism, which refers to the distinct local character of a geographic area or to a people's perception of and identification of such places. Thank you.
This week's lecture presents an article written by Joseph Nye and Yuna Kim. The authors develop a variety of soft power strategies that follow the Korean Wave. They suggest using this to achieve political, social, and economic goals. They believe that the Korean Wave can potentially contribute to soft power in bringing new opportunities that aim to improve Korea's image. In addition, they believe it can provide a great networking system for Korean popular culture. This can potentially influence the production of influential South Korean celebrities to be international icons.
There are several similarities between this article and readings discussed in previous weeks. An idea discussed in previous classes involves the concept of Korean television programs transcending national boundaries and becoming global. As mentioned in Week 9's article from Jin, in recent years there has been a noticeable growth in the global exportation and transnational recognition of K-dramas. An example of this transnational achievement is discussed in this week's article called Soft Power and the Korean Wave. The reading explains the process of how K-dramas were popularized within the Middle East. As quoted by the Week 9 reading, localization is the successful global transfer of products to different localities by making modifications for such variables as culture, language, gender, or ethnicity, which emphasizes the interaction between the global and local. As discussed in this week's article, Korea seeks to air K-dramas in Iraq with Kurdish subtitles. This relates to the concept of localization as modifications were made in consideration of language barriers. Week 9's article by Jin speaks on how the new Korean wave is affected by transnational audiences and has developed a focus on global interaction. The new Korean wave demonstrates the development within the Korean entertainment industry. This concept is further analyzed in this week's reading, which goes on to discuss how entertainment sources and the Korean wave popular culture are a resource for increasing South Korea's soft power. The article Soft Power and the Korean Wave explores the effect that K-dramas such as Winter Sonata have on a transnational audience and how it contributes to raising Korea's soft power and improving global relationships. Week 9's reading by Mori analyzes how the Korean Wave and particularly the K-drama Winter Sonata serve to re-examine the cultural relationship between Korea and Japan, as well as minimize certain prejudices and improve some Japanese individuals' opinion of Korea. This is related to our reading on soft power and the Korean wave, as the article discusses how the drama Winter Sonata was able to create a positive opinion of Korea within several countries in the Middle East. Winter Sonata achieved great popularity within the Middle East and was able to influence a rather enthusiastic reception of Korean culture. As discussed in Week 9's article by Mori, the Korean wave, as well as the immense popularity of the K-drama Winter Sonata, attracted Japanese individuals' interest in Korean culture, food, language, etc. The drama helped break down stereotypical views of Korean culture and fueled eager interest in Korean society. This relates to this week's reading, as the article on soft power and the Korean wave also discusses how the drama Winter Sonata increased awareness of Korean culture within Japan, and also references how there was a similar effect within the Middle East. The article states how Korean dramas Winter Sonata and Autumn in My Heart achieved great popularity in the Middle East and garnered interest in Korean culture, language, and studies. Week 9's article by Mori mentions how some individuals who previously engaged with and were interested in American culture and entertainment became disinterested after the Iraq War of 2005, as their opinion of the U.S. was minimized, so they turned to Asian culture instead. This relates to this week's reading on soft power and the Korean wave, as the authors discuss how the soft power and attractiveness of the U.S. diminished after the invasion of Iraq, as several countries considered it to be illegitimate. This reduction of interest in American culture led many to turn to Asian culture, and South Korea was able to raise its attractiveness towards different countries, including Iraq, by broadcasting dramas such as Winter Sonata.
So adding on to Janice's points, the article Soft Power and the Korean Wave by Na and Kim points out the use of attractiveness for South Korean culture. So many Korean Americans have gone to top positions and have created a positive view about South Korea. Their traditions found in Korean cuisine, arts, and crafts have made a huge opening for Korean culture to resonate with people around the world. So this relates to week 2's article from Park. So the author emphasizes on Hallyu, which refers to the growth of Korean culture and popular culture, which is known as the Korean wave. So this includes areas of music, cuisine, art, TV dramas, and more. In addition, the article Soft Power and Korean Wave mentions the popularity of Korean dramas in other countries such as Egypt and Singapore. So this incorporates Hallyu as a rise of Korean popular culture through dramas that have gained popularity overseas and internationally. Interestingly, the success from the Korean drama Autumn in My Heart paved the path for the actors to be invited to countries around the world, such as Egypt. So the university professor from Cairo, Egypt, had mentioned that he and his wife and his children have watched the drama every night. This shows the effect of Hallyu and the spread of Korean culture throughout other countries. Furthermore, the article Soft Power and Korean Wave encourages South Korea to attract foreign students and tourists to the country. This is meant to emphasize on English as well as Korean language in the country to make it more popular. In doing so, more people would want to come to South Korea and there would be an economical and social growth. This is related to Week 3's article from Jang and Kim. The article is called Envisaging the Social-Cultural Dynamics of K-pop, Time-Space Hybridity, Red Queen's Race, and Cosmopolitan Striving. This article is related to Nye and Kim's article because it indicates the use of cosmopolitan striving, which is a belief of obtaining a stronger knowledge of Western languages and culture, which would bring a higher social and economic status. Similarly, having Korean universities teach English will attract more English-speaking students worldwide and provide economic and social growth. Moreover, one of the ways in which South Korea could create soft power is the use of attracting foreign tourists and visitors, as it will create ties within Korea and international countries.
With the increase in global popularity of Korean exported cultural products, known as the Korean Wave or Hallyu, Korean popular culture is a major driver that is strengthening South Korea's soft power. The hit show Squid Game on Netflix, the Academy Award-winning movie Parasite, and a chart-topping boy band BTS are the most talked about entertainment topics in the media. In 2019, Bong Joon-ho became the first Korean director to win the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival for his latest film Parasite, which also won 4 leading awards at the Academy Awards in 2020. The film was nominated in 6 categories and won 4 leading awards at the 92nd Academy Awards, which gave way for more opportunities to introduce Korean movies around the world. This has amassed more global interest in Korean films. The film won the most awards at the Oscars 2020, winning 4 Academy Awards, including the Best Picture, Best Director, Best International Feature Film, and Writing. According to critics, Parasite is considered to be the best film of 2019 and one of the best films of the decade. Gaining more than 111 million views in its first month, Squid Game was said to be Netflix's biggest series launch yet. The show has gained a lot of international attention and placed number 1 on Netflix's top 10 lists in 94 countries around the world, including the United States. After the worldwide success of Gangnam Style by PSY in 2012, it was followed by the rise of K-pop boy band BTS. BTS topped the Billboard 200 chart in 2019 and won the Top Social Artist Award for 5 consecutive years at the Billboard Music Awards. This attracted attention from the world, resulting in global recognition of K-pop as a genre. BTS has achieved 23 Guinness World Record titles and made history by becoming the first South Korean act to top the Billboard Hot 100. They have also attended the United Nations Assembly for 3 years. These are currently the most popular and successful exports of Korean popular culture, all of which have significantly contributed to the appeal of the country and its culture. Hallyu has established a solid standing through popular culture, such as TV dramas and music, and Korean popular culture has been pushing the boundaries of its influence. As the appeal of Korean culture is widely known to people around the world through global online platforms such as YouTube and social media, the craze has expanded to other aspects of Korean culture, including fashion, cosmetics, food, and language, attracting more and more enthusiasts, further enhancing the country's soft power.
And now for our discussion questions. Question number 1. Do you think it's possible for South Korea to use soft power resources in order to change the preference of others in a permanent setting? Question number 2. In what ways do you think soft power can amplify South Korea's security, economy, pride, and international influence?
Conclusion. Over the course of our presentation, we used a few terms of importance, which include soft power, hard power, the Korean wave, globalization, regionalism, and we revisited the term cosmopolitan striving. The Korean wave is a result of Korean soft power. South Korea needs to pay closer attention to soft power if it were to draw a larger attention and play a larger role in international affairs. South Korea is a smaller country and therefore needs soft power to promote their culture. South Korea has portrayed a large influence culturally within the recent years. From the hit Korean pop song Gangnam Style and eventually leading to worldwide popular Korean cultural products such as Squid Game, Parasite, and BTS, which are well known to make a global impact as well as a major impact in the West, where Korean culture typically was not well known. One aspect about Korean culture that helped increase its popularity is that it's notably attractive. Some examples of why some people find South Korean culture attractive are the cuisine, arts, and crafts. To come to a conclusion, South Korean soft power has benefited the Korean economy as well as how foreigners may view the country in a more positive way, as they are now more informed about Korean popular culture. This results in an increase of foreigners deciding to visit Korea as a tourist spot. South Korea needs to pay more attention to soft power, as many people all around the world tune in on Korean culture and the Korean wave.